Assalamu alaikum. My name is Faisal. I am first year student of OSH International Medical University. Today my topic of presentation is the factor that help in the starting or beginning of the sleep. Decrease sensory input, decrease fatigue, decrease cortico-thalamocorticofiber, decrease reticular activity, and also some changes occurs in the blood pressure during the sleeping. During sleeping, normal blood pressure is 120 to 80 bp, but in sleep 90 to 110 bp. The lowest level of the bp during the 4 hours of the sleep, but our blood pressure increases when we saw some exciting dream during sleeping, and some changes occurs in our heartbeat during sleeping. Normal heart rate is 60 to 100 beat per minute, but during sleep 45 to 60 beat per minute.
An example of primary active transport. In this, sodium and potassium ions are transported across cell membrane through a carrier protein known as sodium potassium pump. In sodium potassium pump, sodium is transported outside to inside, while potassium is transported inside to outside cell. This pump is present in all cells of body and responsible for the distribution of cell membrane. Carrier protein that constitutes sodium potassium pump is distributed into two subunits, alpha subunit and beta subunit. Alpha subunit contains 1 lakh molecular weight, while beta subunit contains 55,000 molecular weight. Transport is occur only by alpha subunit, while beta subunit is responsible for glycoprotein functions. Alpha protein has 6 sites, 3 sites for receptors on the inner surface of protein and 2 receptors for the outer surface of protein, while one site for enzyme near for site for sodium. Binding of sodium and potassium activates ATPase. ATPase causes breakdown of ATP into ADP, due to which energy is liberated, and that energy due to this energy, inner surface is forced towards outer surface, while outer surface is forced towards inner surface of cell. Now release of ions will take place. Sodium will release outside, while potassium will release inside the cell. In its electrogenic activity, when sodium potassium pump is activated once, there is a net loss of positive energy. If this pump is continuous in activity, there would be a reduction in positivity inside the cell and negativity will increase. Hydrogen calcium is transported by calcium pump, while hydrogen is transported by hydrogen pump. In calcium, it is from outside to inside. They both obtain energy by catalytic activity of ATPase. Calcium pump is present in some organelles, while hydrogen is mainly occurring in two organs, in stomach and kidney. In stomach for the formation of hydrochloric acid, while in kidney in secretion of hydrogen ion from blood to
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Active transport. The uphill movement of a substance is called active transport. Active transport and facilitated diffusion only one difference. Active transport requires energy, but facilitated diffusion requires no energy. The carrier protein are present in active transport are uniport and semport. Uniport is the carrier protein that carries only one substance in a single direction, and semport the carrier protein that carries two substances in a same direction is called semport, and antiport the carrier protein that carries two substances in opposite direction. Mechanism of active transport is the substance binds with the carrier protein of the cell and then comes inside the cell, then substance leaves inside the cell and the carrier protein or goes outside of the cell. There are substances transported through active transport: ionic and non-ionic. Ionic substances are sodium, potassium, hydrogen, and non-ionic are glucose, amino acid, etc. Types of active transport is primary active transport and secondary active transport. Primary active transport is a transport in which energy is required energy is get directly from ATPs, and a secondary in which energy is indirectly get from ATPs. Primary active transport example of primary: sodium potassium pump, hydrogen pump, and calcium pump. Sodium potassium pump: two sodiums are comes inside the cell, and two potassium come inside the cell, and three sodium leaves the cell. In calcium pumps, calcium comes inside and outside of the cell through a calcium pumps. It is present in the sarcoplasmic reticulum of the sarcoplasm of muscle cell and mitochondria of all cell. Hydrogen pump: hydrogen comes inside and outside of the cell through hydrogen pumps. Its hydrogen pumps are present in two organs, stomach and kidney. In stomach, it is present in parietal cell of stomach, which helps in the formation of hydrochloric acid, and in kidney, it is present in the epithelial cell of the epithelial of distal convoluted tubules, which helps in the absorption of hydrogen ion from the blood to urine. And secondary active transport: in secondary active transport, it gets energy indirectly. First of all, substance goes to the sodium, and then sodium breaks the substance and produce ATP. There are two types of secondary active transport: sodium co-transport and sodium counter transport. In sodium co-transport, the mechanism, the transport in which sodiums are comes inside of the cell along with the other substance. uh, there are example of sodium glucose co-transport, sodium amino acid co-transport, and sodium counter transport. Sodium counter transport: the transport in which sodium goes opposite to the other substance if the sodium goes inside and the substance goes outside. Example are sodium calcium counter transport, sodium hydrogen counter transport. So there are the types of active transport. Active transport are of three types: endocytosis, exocytosis, and transcytosis. In endocytosis, micromolecule are enter into the cell. In exocytosis, micromolecule or large particle are expelled out of the cell. They are in the form of secretory vesicles. Endocytosis are of three types: panocytosis, phagocytosis, and receptor mediated protein. In panocytosis, macromolecule are engulfed by a cell. So it is in the form of endosome, which helps secondary lysosome to break down the endosomes, and its breakdown and degrade it. And phagocytosis, panocytosis is also called cell drinking. Phagocytosis is engulfed the macromolecule, which is not engulfed by a panocytosis. It is called cell eating process. In this process, phagosomes are break down or degraded by a secondary lysosome, which has hydrolytic enzyme. And receptor mediated protein, which transport the substance through by the helps of protein. In this process, the receptor protein is a collaterin, and the last of this is molecular motor. The molecular motor is a protein based mechanism that performs intracellular mechanism of the cell. There are three types of molecular motor: kinesin, renin, and myosin. Kinesin is it's a transport over the microtubules. The kinesin has two heads and one tail. One head hydrolyze the ATPs to get energy, and other head is responsible for the movement, and the tail is responsible for the cargo or transport of substance. It is responsible for the anterograde movement of cell. Then we have renin. Renin is similar with the kinesins, but it has different. It is retrograde movement. The movement against or toward the negative end of the macrotubules. And last of this is myosin. Myosin is the transport over the macrofilaments. There are 18 types of myosins. Type 2 and type 5 myosin are very important. Type 2 are responsible for the muscle contraction, and type 5 is responsible for the movement of secondary vesicle.
Rahim, which factor increase and decrease the REM sleep and entry REM sleep. In our brain, we use oxygen as increase acetylcholine duration of 8 to 90 minutes, and the increase with the light Nightmare it occur in adult and it shows beta rhythm entry it 25% present it device sleep and night teller and sleep teller it night teller and sleep teller it occur in children it shows delta rhythm and which factor decrease the REM sleep and 3 REM sleep the duration of REM sleep it decreased to the 9 to 80 and 70 and which may be drug does benzodiazepine and alcohol it decreases the N3 which factor increase the depression it increase the night awakening and early awakening.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Aftab Baloch, student of Osh International Medical University. Today my topic is biological rhythms. Biological rhythms are everywhere. The daily changes in sleep and weakness, annual breed, migration and the tidal variation in behavior of coastal animal. These are all examples of biological rhythms. These are all examples of biological rhythms, and there are 4 biological rhythms: circadian rhythms, the 24-hour cycle that including physiological and behavior rhythms like sleeping duration rhythms and circadian rhythms. Synapse with day and night, ultradian rhythms, biological rhythms with a shorter period and higher frequency, and circadian rhythms, and interchangeable with circadian rhythms. There are rhythms are a series of body functions regulated by 4 internal clock. The control cycle like sleep and weakness, body temperature, hormones, circadian and more.
My name is Abdul Samad. Today my topic is biological rhythm dissipation. I am a student of Osh International Medical University. Jet-lag disorder. Sudden triangle changes in time zones confuse of internal clock. Like a long distance fight and you may have insomnia, injections, loss of focus. Signs symptoms of the disorder depend upon no of time zone you occurs. Second one is night shift disorder. Night shift disorder it changes internal individual because it happen when a person have night shift duty he remaining awake at night and sleeping and feeling disordered at day. So rhythms is destroyed. So rhythms is
6-man future to keep biological rhythm. One soak in the sunlight early in the morning, to go to bed and sleep and awake at the same time daily. 3 exercise at the daytime. 4 avoid caffeine after 12 a.m. 5 avoid artificial light before bedtime. 6 avoid long nap and avoid nap too close to your bedtime.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum guys. How are you today our topic is necrosis and apoptosis, and we will also discuss about their differences between them and their similarities. Apoptosis is a physiological programmed cell death. It's a natural phenomenon occurs in the human body. An apoptosis cell membrane remains intact, or there is no loss of cell membrane integrity, and there is no bleeding. Begins with cell shrinking and condensation of nucleus in apoptosis. Pyconosis occur, which is condensation of chromatin followed by karyoreaction. That's the fragmentation of nucleus. The chromatin material condense and then eventually get fragmented. Cell breaks and form apoptic bodies, and necrosis is a pathological, not programmed cell death occurs or caused by injury, burn, radiation, or other factors. Begins with swelling and inflammation occurs and loss of cell membrane integrity. In necrosis, pyconosis and karyoreaction occur. These two processes are followed by a process called karyolysis, which is the dissolution of cytoplasm. In necrosis, there is no apoptotic body or no vesicle formation occurs. After karyolysis, there is complete cell destruction or cell lysis. At the end, they share a common step called phagocytosis.
EEG stands for the electroencephalography. It is the graphical representation of electrical activity of fire, especially the pyramidal cells of the cerebral cortex. It consists of stimulatory and inhibitory synaptic potentials of the pyramidal cells of the cerebral cortex. We have different kind of rhythms. First we have the alpha rhythm. These are synchronized rhythms. These happen during the closed eyes, or when the person is drowsy conditions, or these also happens during the light sleep or inattentive brain. Parieto-occipital lobe dominantly shows the alpha rhythms. Next we have the beta rhythms. These are desynchronized. Increased frequency and decrease in amplitude occurs during the beta rhythms. Beta rhythms, there is no effect of opening or closing of eyes on the beta rhythms. Next we have the delta rhythms. It happens during the deep sleep in adults and during the early childhood. If these rhythms do happen other than these two causes, then there may be an epilepsy, depression, tumor, or increased intracranial pressures. The last rhythms we have the theta rhythm. Theta rhythms occur in the less than 5 years of age. The decreased frequency and decreased amplitude is the characteristic feature of the theta rhythms. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I am going to explain the remaining applied physiology of sleep. So first of all, somnambulism. Somnus means sleep, and ambulare means to walk. It is a condition in which a person walks during night with open eyes during sleep, and it occurs in non-randomized sleep movement. And in adults, it is associated with psychological disorder, and in children, it is associated with sleep terror, bed wetting, and it is not related to psychological disturbance in children. And then night terror, which also happens in children, and the children does not remember the details of the dream they see during the night terror or sleep terror. It is also called as pavor nocturnus, and then it occurs in non-randomized sleep moment. And then nightmare, which happens in adults, and it is associated with dreams, frightening dreams, and it occurs in adults and happens in the randomized sleep moment, and it occurs due to digestive disorder, nervous disorder, or we can say that due to drug withdrawal or alcohol withdrawal. And then nocturnal angulisis, which is the wording of involuntary wording of urine at night that happens in children, and it is also called as bedwetting. And then movement disorders during sleep, which are also called as sleep start or hypnic jerk, that are associated with clonus. And clonus is the involuntary muscular contraction of muscles that happens in upper limb or lower limb due to lesions in lower motor neuron or descending neuron. And other sleep disorders include bruxism, which is grinding of teeth, and one more, which is banging of head. Thank you.